Hi everybody, I'm Christy Gordson and welcome to Washington Grown. Bread is a staple in almost every family's diet, so today we're going to be talking all about bread.
We'll travel to Grand Central Bakery to see how they're baking up some of the freshest bread in the Northwest. We're on the streets at the Olympia Farmers Market to see what kind of bread people love to eat, then talk with fourth-generation farmer Hal Johnson about wheat farming in Washington State. We're at Second Harvest in Spokane to see how they've been helping feed people in need for over 40 years. Then we're in the kitchen with our home chef, Kristen.
Today we're using soft white wheat grown right here in Washington to make one of my family's favorites, gooey, buttery monkey bread.
All this and much more on Washington Grown.
That's okay. For whole wheat, this is pretty awesome.
They are so delicious.
We're here in Burien, Washington at Grand Central Bakery, a great place to grab a bite to eat or a cup of joe. But what really sets them apart is their famous artisan breads. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear from some of the locals on what keeps them coming back.
I love the salads and the soup, and they have a tuna tostini that's really delicious.
This space is really nice. You can relax and enjoy lunch with friends.
Mac and cheese and bread and mac and cheese.
I'll definitely have to try their mac and cheese, but right now I'm here with head baker Mel Darbyshire at their wholesale factory, and she filled me in on just what we'll find when we visit their bakery.
So what they're gonna find is fresh bread and fresh pastries, obviously hot coffee, which is good. But yeah, all of this bread will go to our cafes, and so they're getting the freshest bread that's coming out of our facility.
And from what I hear, there's one major thing that separates their bread from the rest of the pack: shepherd's grain flour.
With shepherd's grain, their proteins tend to be a little lower, but the quality is really good. We have a really long fermentation schedule, and their flour can handle it, which is very good. Hopefully when somebody eats this bread and they know it's from shepherd's grain, they feel really good at knowing that what they're eating is local, and that it was made with integrity from planting the seed all the way through our process.
Coming up later in the show, Mel will show us just how to make their tasty artisan bread, so stay tuned.
So it's a busy day here at the Olympia Farmers Market, and we're going to try to go out and ask some people what they think of bread, what their favorite kind of bread is, that sort of thing. So talking about bread here at the Farmers Market. Can we talk to you about bread?
Sure.
So what's your favorite kind of bread?
Sourdough, tomato basil bread,
Oh, multi-grain.
garlic bread,
Garlic bread?
I don't know, I guess really crunchy bread.
sourdough bread, whole wheat,
What about you?
Mine's tomato basil or the Asiago cheese.
multigrain bread,
I like the whole grain.
Do you?
Yeah.
bread in general.
You're a bread guy.
I love bread.
And how do you usually eat bread?
I like bread and butter.
Sandwiches and toast.
Me, normally just sandwiches.
Toast in the morning or French toast.
Probably toast.
Yeah.
Just toast with jam.
French toast.
That sounds good.
It is.
Can I come over for breakfast?
Sure. It's usually dinner.
French toast for dinner. I like it. That's even better. Do you eat bread a lot?
Well, I bring it home and I usually eat 3/4 of the loaf before I get in the door or on the drive
So you
home.
just eat it fast.
Yeah.
She abstains. What do you think of that?
I think she's missing
She
out.
needs to. I know.
She's missing out.
Now, you can't make great bread without first starting off with great wheat. So we're headed to Pullman, where Washington State University students are learning a variety of techniques for successfully growing a wide range of crops. Dr. Michael Neff, an associate professor in the Department of Crop and Soil Sciences, gave us a quick tour of the university's wheat breeding greenhouse. And while GMO wheat is not grown commercially, I was curious to find out what GMOs are and why they're sometimes used within the agricultural industry.
what exactly is GMO? Genetically modified organism. Okay, what does that mean?
So a GM plant, or a genetically modified plant, or a genetically modified organism, is an organism whose genome, the DNA, has been altered, or in most cases, a piece of DNA has been added in through the process of what we call biotechnology, which is the cutting and pasting of pieces of DNA, assembling a new gene or a new gene variant, and then we use a couple of different techniques to put that DNA into the plant genome and then to generate a plant that is now expressing that new trait in the genome.
Okay, and is any of this?
No, these are all winter wheat that are being part of our winter wheat breeding program. None of the wheat in this room or in any of these rooms in this area are genetically modified. The three main crops that are GMOs are corn, soybean, and cotton.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, the two main traits that are used in all three of these plants are herbicide resistance and insect resistance. And these both actually, I think, are major success stories in GM crop production. In the case of herbicide resistance, what we can do is put in a gene that allows the plant to be resistant to an herbicide that kills the weeds. So we can spray that field with that herbicide. The corn, soybean, or cotton is not killed, but all the weeds are. In the case of insect resistance, one of my favorite GM success stories is the papaya story in Hawaii. So papaya is grown in Hawaii. It is susceptible to a virus that is spread by insects. The problem with papaya is there is no genetic material in any papaya plants or papaya relatives that have resistance to this virus. So in Hawaii, the papaya plantation started to get infected with this virus and it completely wiped out production. So scientists at Cornell developed a technology, a GM technology, to transfer a piece of the viral DNA into the papaya plant and basically act like a vaccine to create a papaya that now is resistant to that virus. So that's an amazing story in the sense that we saved a farming industry completely by growing genetically modified papaya.
What about GM plants make people so uneasy?
So there have been a couple of studies that have come out that have suggested that GM crops, like Roundup Ready corn, which is a herbicide-resistant corn, can give rats cancer. There is no credible, reproducible scientific evidence that states that eating a GM crop is dangerous for you because it's GM. One of the things that you hear from people is they say, we've been eating GM since '96 and there's an increase in autism, so it must be caused by GM. And a very important point that I try to make to my students as well as to the public is that correlation does not equal causation. Lots of things have changed since 1996. And changes that happened in our obesity or our health or increase in diabetes, these are caused by many, many different factors.
What is the future of GMO?
GM crops are not the silver bullet. They're not the answer. Organic is not the silver bullet. It's not the answer. None of these approaches on their own are going to solve the major problem that we have, which is feeding an increasing world population with a decreasing amount of arable land. So I think that we're going to realize at some point as a society that we have to use the best of all of the different tools out there in order to most efficiently, effectively, and safely produce food for the world.
To learn more about Washington-grown crops, log on to our website at wagrown.com. Coming up, we're at Grand Central Bakery's wholesale location where head baker Mel Darbyshire is going to show us the tricks to making the perfect loaf of bread. We're back at Grand Central Bakery's wholesale location, and Mel is going to show us how they make their famous artisan breads. And from what I hear, there's one major thing that separates their bread from the rest of the pack: shepherd's grain flour, grown by farmers throughout eastern Washington.
So this holds 38,000 pounds of flour, and we get 36 to 38,000 pounds of flour every 8 to 9 days. All of the flour in there is from shepherd's grain.
Yeah.
And so we can link this to the farmers, which is very cool.
We all love the smell of fresh, home-cooked bread, and right now I'm in heaven.
And so today's the biggest shape day, so these guys will probably shape about I bet they're shaping close to 4,000 loaves today.
Wow.
After my quick tour of the facility, Mel showed me how to make their peasant loaf. So let's not waste any time, let's make some dough. To make the peasant loaf, we'll start by allowing the shepherd's grain flour to hydrate in water.
So allowing those grains to hydrate, because we're not using any white flour at all.
Okay.
They get to soak up the water, enzyme activity starts to happen, and it helps keep the mix time short. And
So at home, when people make this,
they would do the same thing. You would do the same thing in your bowl, or if you were using a KitchenAid, you'd put your water, all your flours, and you can already see it's starting to get some strength just from sitting there. So
how long would they let it sit in there?
20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes.
And obviously, your mixer will be a little smaller than this.
Yes, just a little bit.
Mel showed me a cool trick to make better tasting bread, Grand Central Bakery style.
So what we have here is the levain.
Okay.
And this has been fermented overnight, and it's got a little bit of culture in it, but it's basically a pre-ferment. And we've basically fermented 1% of the flour already. And if you feel this, you can feel it's really strong. Yeah.
And so people will take this
and this, and they'll make dough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, we add our salt and continue mixing on high speed. You know it's almost done when your dough forms what Mel calls a pumpkin.
This is looking pretty
That
close.
looks so cool.
Yeah.
What's the biggest mistake people make when they're making bread at home?
To not use enough water. I think because people get scared of like a wet dough and it being sticky.
Sure.
And so they'll make the dough be very stiff, so it's easier to work with. So there's your dough, and then this will ferment for 90 minutes.
Okay.
So this has a pretty short fermentation schedule because we fermented a lot of the flour already.
So this would be their bowl at home.
Yep.
Greased.
Got a little
lightly
bit of
greased.
a little oil on there.
Cover it with a towel.
Cover it with a towel or saran wrap.
Or plastic, okay.
And then just put this on your countertop, just at ambient temperature.
Yeah.
So now I'll try my hand at forming some dough. Press evenly on the dough to degas it. Next, fold over the edge,
Kind of push it down with your thumbs.
roll the dough once more, and make sure to fold in the ends with your pinkies.
That's okay.
Flatten out the lip, add some flour to the seam, and place in the basket for decorative detail. Now, let this proof for about 90 minutes, and then it's on to the oven. For more information on this recipe and others, visit our website at wagrown.com. Washington is known for many things, and one of those is potatoes. Washington's potatoes give Grand Central Bakery's loaves a smooth and tasty quality.
We roast potatoes and we add them at the end so they're just incorporated, so you still get some nice little chunks of potato in there, so you get these nice toasty potato bites. So there's the flavor component, especially because we roast them, so we've got all that extra flavor and the caramelization. But the starches interact with the gluten and they they almost tenderize it in a way. So anything that's got potato in it or potato flour will have a really tender crumb, which is a desirable feature for certain products.
I've had a great time learning all about the process of making great bread, so now let's try some.
Here are the whole grain breads
Look
finished.
at how great they look.
Yeah.
And now the moment I've been waiting for.
This is what we were making.
This is what we were making.
And
So-
it's the whole grain.
The whole grain, so whole wheat, emmer, spelt, and rye flour. No white flour.
Okay.
And when you smell it, you definitely can smell the graininess of it and a little bit of sour.
Thank you so much for having us here and
Oh, you're welcome.
showing us around and teaching us how to make bread. And I love it. I'm going to try it.
Yeah, try it at home.
Absolutely. So delicious.
Curious where all that shepherd's grain flour is coming from? Well, some of it's coming from Hal Johnson's farm in Davenport, Washington. Up next, we'll meet with Hal and learn how his family has been growing the wheat that makes up some of our favorite baked goods for over a century. We'll travel to Second Harvest in Spokane to see how they're able to feed over 40,000 people in need each week. Then we're in the kitchen with our home chef Kristen as she teaches us how to make a treat your family will love, monkey bread. Products made with wheat come into our lives almost every day. Today, we're with Hal Johnson at his wheat farm near Davenport, Washington. And it turns out, growing wheat is fascinating.
When our families first began, it was horses and it was stationary threshing machines. Now we move through the fields with large machines that they're called self-propels, but the header's in front of you and you cut the crop off and it comes out in the tank behind you and you put it in a truck and send it to an elevator, and from there it goes on to market.
Wheat farming, like most everything else, has been affected by an influx in new technology.
We monitor everything. We monitor how much we're losing out the back. We monitor our yield, and then we take that yield data and go back in and fertilize according to what the yields are. So all of this adds efficiency and effectiveness in what we do, and it makes us better stewards of everything that we do when we monitor what we're doing.
Hal delivers wheat directly to a local mill, who then produces the popular shepherd's grain.
One of the things we're so excited about shepherd's grain, it was a step back to, working with local groups and local people in providing a product. But it's really a neat thing to know that your product is being used locally. What we have here is what we call a stubble field or a fallow field. This is what the field looks like after it's been cut and the grain has been removed. And we leave the residue on the ground, and we'll come in here with a drill and seed right through this. So we will have not done anything to it prior to seeding it again. We try to do very little soil disturbance and seed right back into the residue of the previous crop. And we're still learning, but we're finding that we're, quote, healing the land.
Pesticides are becoming a growing concern for many people. Should they be worried?
We're really fortunate in growing wheat. We don't use a lot of pesticides. We have to treat our seed in order to enable it to come up and to protect it from things in the soil that think are really good to eat. And then the other major thing that we have to deal with are weeds. And the new pesticides or the new chemistries that we have are just so much better than what we've had in the past. We really are careful in all of our decisions. We know that we need to maintain this land for future generations to be able to not only live on, but to provide food for this country.
Wheat grows abundantly across Washington. Why is this a great place to grow wheat?
Well, if you looked at this ground when my ancestors came here, what they saw was grass. What is wheat? It's a grass. And so that's why wheat does so well in this area. I feel really blessed to have a job where I can grow food for people and know that what I'm doing is a real benefit to the world.
To learn more about wheat farming in Washington, check out our website at wagrown.com. Second Harvest has been helping deliver food to those in need for over 42 years. I met with Chief Resource Officer Rod Weber to see exactly how the company is successfully managing to feed more than 40,000 people each week.
Over the years, we've established great relationships with farmers and growers from, Wenatchee to the Yakima Valley, from down in the Mid-Columbia Basin. Every year, they have truckloads of produce to donate. Today, we have volunteers that are sorting potatoes from a very generous donor.
12,000 pounds of potatoes, to be exact.
That's huge. That's little. I'm gonna have dreams about potatoes tonight.
The food sorted at Second Harvest is delivered to more than 250 food pantries and meal programs throughout 26 counties in eastern Washington and northern Idaho.
To get that nutritious, healthy produce into the hands of children and adults that many times are often lacking that type of food is very important, because many of them are getting things that are more high calorie, highly processed foods, and they just can't afford the produce. So when they can access that from their local food bank, that just has a great win.
We both work, we both have jobs, and we don't have enough money to have food for the month, so we gotta come here and get vegetables. Mostly the vegetables.
I just like all the food they give me, so I don't have to buy so many groceries and be broke all the time.
Wheat farmer Bruce Nelson talked talk to us about why it's so important to donate to Second Harvest.
My wife and I have always donated to Second Harvest for many, many years. It's only 1% goes to administration and 99% goes to the people. And that's why I encourage all growers to go ahead and to support this program and to donate.
Anybody can donate, whether it's a large grower, producer, or even somebody that has extra produce from their backyard. We have a great program called Plant a Row, where we encourage people to plant an extra row when they're putting in their garden, or if they have extra zucchini or tomatoes, donate that to your local food bank. We need a lot of volunteers. Last year we had nearly 3,000 people that came through our facility here and donated time. We get a lot of corporations, businesses, schools, church groups, youth groups. They love to come in, kind of a team building exercise. And then we just a lot of individuals that come in as well.
And I bet they leave feeling really good.
They do. They really enjoy it. They've done something that's helping their community out and providing a vital need. Because like I say, we just need a lot of folks to help us package and sort through the food that's coming through here.
To learn how you can help food banks throughout Washington, log on to our website at wagrown.com.
We are gonna make monkey bread. I love monkey bread. I think everyone who's had it
loves it.
Loves it.
It's true.
And your kids will request it
every day.
Every day. Yeah.
If you're willing, they will request it.
And there are a lot of different recipes out there for monkey bread. But,
there are.
What are we gonna do?
Well, we're doing ours with a sweet yeasted dough.
Okay.
And there's a lot of, that's the fun thing about monkey bread, is that it kind of has a different meaning to a lot of different people. Sometimes it's made from biscuits, sometimes it's made from yeast dough, sometimes it has pudding, sometimes it's sweet just with the cinnamon sugar, and sometimes it just has butter. But the one we're doing today is a yeasted dough with a brown sugar and white sugar topping. And a lot of butter. It's really nice.
Oh, that sounds so good. All right, so we're gonna make the dough.
We're doing our dough in our food processor, which you can do. A lot of people don't know that. You just have to, it works a little faster. It gets so hot with the blades spinning around.
So just be careful when you're...
You need to be careful not to do it for too long, because you'll kill your yeast.
Okay.
So we're gonna put our flour in here.
How many cups?
3 1/4. Okay. And then we've got some sugar and some salt and our yeast.
Okay.
And we're gonna get those blended. It just takes 2 seconds. Pretty easy.
Easy enough.
Next, we add in eggs, warm milk, warm water, melted butter, then mix.
We really don't want to do it longer than about 1.5 minutes.
Okay.
Before we'll kill our yeast, because it's gonna get so hot in there.
Once combined, we hand knead on a floured surface until the dough is smooth. Then place in a greased bowl, cover up with saran wrap, and let rise for about an hour.
Okay. So now we're ready for our next step. We're gonna dump it out.
Look at that.
Look
Oh my
how
gosh.
pretty it is.
Yeah, it always looks so neat.
And get ready. We're gonna cut it into tiny pieces.
Tiny pieces.
And coat it in butter and in our cinnamon sugar. But we have to mix our butter and
first.
cinnamon
Okay.
sugar.
So we have brown sugar.
And we're gonna add some white sugar, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of cinnamon, and a little bit of cloves.
Great.
And then we'll mix this all up.
Okay.
Do you wanna mix this for me?
Yeah,
And
I'll
I'll
mix
start cutting our dough. We just want little tiny, like about $1/2 diameter size pieces. And that's the fun thing about the monkey bread, is it's all these little pieces that you coat individually, and then as it rises and after you bake it, you can just pick little tiny pieces off.
I love that.
Look like a monkey.
Yep.
My kids think that means they have to make monkey sounds when they're eating it.
Well, that's the way I do it. I'll show you a little bit later.
I'm excited. Here's our butter. There's some melted unsalted butter.
Pan.
Which we buttered.
Yes.
There's a lot of butter.
Yes, but that's okay. That's good. I love it.
So we take a little blob of dough,
Okay.
just loosely roll it in your hand. Dump them in the butter, give them a little butter bath.
Okay.
Pick them out with your fork, and then put them in your sugar, sprinkle them, and then plop them in the pan. Your kids can help you with this part too.
Absolutely.
It's done. Okay. This is not, we don't have to be exact. This is like a no stress shaping.
Okay.
Your dough doesn't have to be perfect circles.
And it'll take a while too.
Getting
Getting all these little pieces put together, but it's fun.
You can do about 3 of them at a time and just roll them into little balls and let them sit in the butter.
Yeah.
And then do them at the same time. We'll get it
Gives
together.
You a chance to have a little conversation with your kids or your company. Put your company to work.
Ooh, I like that. Free labor.
There we go.
We continue to butter and sugar the dough balls and place them in the bundt pan. Once complete, we cover with plastic, let rise for another hour, then bake in the oven.
Is it ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Monkey bread, here we come.
Let's get it out.
Oh, look at it. It looks so good.
There we go. It's been baking for 25 minutes. It's all nice and golden brown on the top.
How fun.
If you can hear it too.
It smells so good.
You can hear all the
Lovely.
butter in it. Yeah.
All the butter and the cinnamon and the sugar.
We let sit for 2 minutes, then invert the pan.
Moment of
This
truth.
is the moment of truth.
There we go. Oh, and I
We've
could
been
feel it
waiting
fall out.
for.
You ready?
Yeah. This is what I love.
Da-da.
Oh, look at how good that looks.
There we go.
Look at all that melty goodness on
Nice
top.
butter, sugar
I
melted on
know.
top. I'm gonna let it cool for just a second, and then we get to be little monkeys.
Okay. All right, we get to eat the monkey bread now.
We're ready.
We are ready. Okay, let's dig in. This is the fun part where you just get to tear it apart and
Bite it.
take a bite. Oh, it is so good. And so fun. So just get your hands in there and
I think you owe me a monkey impression.
that's all you're gonna get. Did you like it?
I did. It
I
was
like
everything
this.
I wanted.
This is so good. This is nice and gooey.
To find Kristen's recipe for monkey bread, log onto our website at wagrown.com.
There truly is nothing better than a slice of freshly baked bread. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Washington Grown. Thanks for joining us.